The seagulls follow trawler. It's because they think sardines will be thrown into the sea. Thank you very much.
Talking nonsense. So I thought, no, enough's enough. Why should I put up with that? Talking nonsense. So I thought, no, enough's enough. Why should I put up with that? Don't back down, double down. Don't back down, double down.
Here we go. It's the Thursday night forum. It's 2 nights in a row on the Boise bus. Last night was a bit lively, but no one does it livelier than the judge. So get your lullabies ready. Get your alibis ready, because Mr. Mark Kearney joins us during this festive period for the first time. Mark Kearney, how the fucking devil are you, my man?
I'm doing very well, mate. Yourself? How was Christmas? All right?
Oh, fantastic, mate. I just can't help but throw a wee sweary word in between that when I get that excited, mate. I just get that excited.
Why not, mate? It's Christmas, mate. You'll have a fucking good time.
So the judge joins us. And it's funny that the judge joins us because, as I've alluded to on the show, Judgment Day is coming. But in more ways than one, Mr. Kearney. And that is what we're going to be talking about tonight. Whilst, firstly, getting your thoughts on last night. And then we're going to go a wee bit more in depth on some of the debates that we had last night, which I thought were actually quite. I watched most of the show back last night. And when I did, so I thought there was quite a few different angles coming from the four of us, which is I always think is a refreshing thing. You know what I mean? I always think that's a good thing. And we maybe get your takeaways from a few of those debates that we were having as well. Before we do that, though, we've got to do all that good stuff. But before I do all that good stuff, I've got to say the donation stuff last night, let that be like a one-off, right? I was truly humbled by it. I know there was a real, bit of banter behind it and all that, and I know all that stuff. But like, we do this for for fun. Of course, we want it to be the biggest Celtic podcast in the world, but I'll just start telling folk that and it'll happen, right? But when it comes to competing with the crazy donations and that, I mean, I didn't want anyone, doing it to compete with each other and stuff. That was wild last night, and very grateful for it. Massive thanks to Belly, Chunks. There was others as well that were putting in the odd donation. I mean, of course, it's welcomed and all that, but don't let it get silly, right? I like to be sound, man. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not my style. Belly wants the merch going, and there's plans for that in the new year. But we're going to talk about all that good stuff as well right now, because 79 are watching live. How many of you have hit that like button? Hit the like button. Hit subscribe. We jumped up 10 subscribers last night alone. So do hit the subscribe button as well if you've not already. Hit the wee bell if you want the notifications. That's all good. Keep the comments lively. That is what we really want. And of course, if you want to become a Boys to Bus member and all that shite, the option is there. That's just to support the channel. The content will always, Mark Kearney, be free on the bus. It's a free bus pass, even if you're under 60.
Well, that's very true, mate. That's very true. I mean, I look about 65 sometimes in the morning, you know what I mean? But I watched that wee bit of last night's show, mate. To be quite honest with you, I fell asleep. You know, my wee bit in early bed goer.
Yeah.
But I did see the donations on, and I good on the guys who put the donations in. I mean, it's none of it is oh no. None of it's obligatory or anything like that, so it all helps the show. But we don't like you try and sell it or anything like that. So it's anybody who wants to become a member, it just helps pay for like subscriptions and things like that. Keeps the show self-sufficient. We're at the stage now where the show is keeping itself running. So any donations are grateful, but they're not really needed. But quite classy of you to tell people there that that's not why we do it. And good on you, mate. I think anybody that puts their money in, brilliant. Good on them, but there's no way we do it. And there they go, chunks in the chunks, £5.
He's definitely got his Christmas. He's got his Christmas bonus, I think, Mark. That's a £5. That'll do.
I think chunks in my chunks is actually some sort of is a representation of the club. I think the club are trying to get us bought into them, mate. I think he's maybe come for the board. I'm waiting for an email off him to try and push a narrative. And it's got to take more than £5 for me, mate. My knickers start at £6 before I start pulling them down for anybody. But good on you, Chunks.
No, he's a legend, man. He is a legend. But that is plenty. Thank you so much, Chunks, and anyone else who's done all that stuff. But I've never asked for any of this shit. Do you know what I mean? It's a YouTube option that seems to be there. But anyway, if my stream's breaking up, do tell me, Matt, because I will just quickly dive out and dive back in if it's getting bad.
Aye.
Has it been okay?
She's been spot on so far, mate. Spot on so far.
Fair enough. Right, sound. Okay, let's get into it then, Matt. Last night, Hibs, 1 win and 8 for the Hoops there at Easter Road.
I don't know if you went froze there or whether you were.
I have. I knew.
Well, you were fine. You were on a good run there, so you were on a.
As soon as I said it, I called it. But Easter Road, 1 win and 8. Talk to us about that, Mark. I'll dive out, you dive in, because that was a potential banana skin.
I think Ange's put a lot of hoodoo places to bed. I think Livingston was one. It was a real hoodoo for Celtic. I think Hibs was a place I've always feared gone to ever since they've been back in the Premier League. They've always gave us a hard time. Even when we've won comfortably, I've always thought they've showed up pretty well. Last night in particular, I mean, the first 5-10 minutes were a bit ropey, but once Celtic get their foot behind the ball, there was nigging back. I thought Aaron Moy was just what a performance that was. He had a cigar in his mouth the full match. I also thought Dyson Maeda played really well last night as well. I thought that the two players who I will openly criticise, and I will do in the future as well, should their performances level drop for what I'm expecting, but I thought they two in particular were so good last night. I know Rihal Hatate in the first 15 minutes get his arse put on a plate, but see after that he just ran into the game. He was a right back that was sometimes on the left hand side of the opposition box. He was just all over the place, mate. It was just what a performance he put in as well. I thought. Well,
Mark, I called Hatate last night the best right back in Scotland. I wonder if you subscribe to that.
Well, I actually thought, I know I'm going to say this, but I actually thought his performance in right back against St Johnstone was at the weekend there. I thought that was the most assured right back performance I'd seen in a long time for this jersey. But you've got to take the opposition into consideration when you say things like that. But I just thought the guy just looked like an out-and-out fullback. No, I'm not saying I don't want his position to change. He's too effective, but and I just thought that if you were looking for a fullback to perform the way Ange wants to play, his two performances have done exactly that. You know what I mean? Personally, we may have to debate about the starting lineup in midfield later on the show, but should Juranovic come back in, which I don't think he should, if he's getting sold in January the 3rd or the 4th, we made the mistake last year of playing Edouard and Christie the day before they get sold.
Fucking
don't play players.
That's a great
do not
example,
play players that are ready to leave. Put them in the dugout or put them in the stands. Don't play them. But if Ralston's fit or Johnson's fit, you put Hatate where he's supposed to go. And that for me is the middle of the park. I think the only question now for me, I think Moyes hit a level in the last 2 games, and for me it's kind of coincided with I think Matt O'Reilly's forms dip below the level that I think's acceptable for a Celtic player. Now I think his performances are pathetic. To be honest with you,
no!
I think Matt O'Reilly.
That's too far.
No, listen, Matt O'Reilly's one of the most
Pathetic.
talented. Listen, Matt O'Reilly's one of the most talented players we've got in Sweden, right? I think Matt O'Reilly has got potential to go to the Premier League. I'm really confident that boy's going to be a 15, 20 million pound player. I think he's been excellent. But his performances a couple of games before the break and after the break have been very, very, very below par. If it was a new signing, you'd be saying he's got to take a long time to get up to the speed. He's been pathetic. I mean, he can make 3-yard passes that have got the opposition. I've not saw him make one pass. He's been horrendous the last few games, boys. I mean, I know you're working on Saturday and you might have missed the St Johnstone game, but that guy should have been off that park at half time. It was red rotten.
I watched it on a dodgy. I watched it. I found a way to watch it.
A very illegal stream.
I get. The one thing I would say about O'Reilly is I don't know if his form since he's switched back for the number 6 role that he was kind of occupying in Callum McGregor's.
Should be adjustment.
He's just not being as creative as what this guy when he first joined. I mean, let's be honest. The second half of last season, he was signed to play in that role beside Hatate, as it now will always be, because that guy is.
That's his position, boys. Without a doubt, that's his position.
Yeah. But I actually admired O'Reilly's adaptation to the number 6 role. I thought he showed bits of dig about him as well that I didn't know he had in his locker. I thought he read the game quite well. I would agree his form's not where it should be, but I also have a feeling that in terms of the wheel that Ange is operating, Mark, he's an important cog in it. He plays with the ethos and the profile and the Ange is after, and I think there'll be a preferential treatment in the extent that doesn't frustrate me as much as maybe other positions we've discussed. In fact, I think O'Reilly's got good credit in the bank. But you've completely nailed it with the Moy thing, because Moyes came back for the World Cup as I hoped he would, because I watched I watched 2 Australia's games in their group stage, and he was fucking phenomenal. I'm not going to bullshit that. Oh God, I've called him an underwhelming signing. Shoot me, do you know what I mean? Celtic Twitter. Need to kill me. It was an underwhelming signing. Do you know what I mean?
It was, and he still is. If you left him on, he'd be still doing as a flop. You know what I mean? If you left him on, he's hot good form. It doesn't mean he's turned into Dan. But what we do, what I did in this show, what we all did in this show is we speak about what's just happened, and we speak about what's happened up until the now. We're no fortune tellers, right? I think we're quite right to call it Moyes signing as dubious, and it was dubious. I've got my reservations about why he was signed in the first place, and right up until the first game back, Livingston or St Johnstone, whatever it was, he still was an underwhelming signing for Celtic. He was walking about the park, and he looked like he was just somebody who was just. I mean, in fact, the Livingston game he was brought on, and he was actually getting stick after the support for slowing it down and going wide. Well, he was brought on by Ange to slow the game down. He done exactly what he was told. You can't shout at a player like Moy for doing exactly what he's told. I mean, if you want the big team to be sped up, you don't bring on David Turnbull and Adam Moy. I'm sorry, guys. You know what I mean? That's just not the case whatsoever. So, but the St Johnstone game, I thought he was. I think I said in the group chat, or it might have been on Twitter, that was his best performance. But I thought again last night was his best performance. So if he keeps on improving, we might have a player on our hands. We've only got for one season, by Alex, unless he's got ambitions to stay for another season. I dare say he's going to look for the money in Saudi Arabia like the rest of them do. That's up to him. But I looked at him last night and I thought, do you know what? See the way he controlled it? Do you know? I know it's a lazy comparison, boys, right? But see the way he controlled the match? It was like the kind of things you used to see like a Scott Brown day or something in a away match. You know what I mean? Just step in that midfield and just play with Garnismouth. Nobody yet that I think an opposition manager would really appreciate what he done. Probably the support probably wouldn't appreciate it as much as what the Celtic manager would either. But I thought last night the guy was just so industrious. He was spraying 15, 20-yard passes that were just the right pass. And sometimes it's hard to be on the pitch at eye level and make the right pass. When you're watching on TV, the camera's 100 feet up in the air. It's easy to see how simple a pass can look. But that guy just made it look so easy last night. And I thought if anybody was playing himself in a team for Monday, last night's performance, Aaron Moy was one of them without a shadow of a doubt. And I didn't think I'd be shouting for him to get a start in a big Celtic match. Far from it. I just think his form is upped at the same time as O'Reilly's form has went down. And for me, Celtic should always be a case of the form players are picked. That's my opinion on how Celtic should play. I also think there's a wee debate on. Well, I still think Jota should start. Jota's the most talented player in the league.
I agree. I said this last night.
But I think there's also a case where you keep saying, if there's something not quite right in Jota's seed, maybe he's come back with a wee injury, maybe he's come back with.
He's got a bug, apparently.
What's that?
I think they said he's got a bit of a bug.
Well, that's that. See, if he's not up to 100%, Matt. You don't go Ibrox unless you're fully focused, fully fit, and you're fully charged. And if any of them are not the case, you don't play. And I know you're probably going to touch on it. I don't know the running, but I think Juranovic, as much as we debate Juranovic, boys, I don't think for a minute you play 2 years. No, it was 1 year. Moy got. It's only signed for a year, mate. But I don't think you play any player that's looking to leave on January the 3rd. I mean, I made that quick point earlier on. I think, boys, we played Rangers and Edouard and Christie played in the left. I think they left the stadium and went right to the airport. For what I'm led to believe, they were.
I hear you.
And you do not play a player in a match that's as important as that. This isn't the Livingston. This is the match.
I take that on board, and I wonder if there was a wee bit of preservation of Jota as well, who you're touching on there. There's a lot to cover there for what you were just saying. Very quickly, Justin's other account. I'll make you famous for 2 seconds on the bus, mate. You're blocked. I know you're typing away furiously, and you want to call me a homosexual. You want to tell Bart to have a wash. Son, Patterson.
Who's this? What's this?
Justin's other account, apparently. So it was quite easy just to get the old sniper.
I'm no wash for any account.
No, these idiots, they get taken right out. Taken right out. And Stan Mac, you too. Hey, well done. See, this is the same. They'll be the same folk, mate. They just set up wee accounts, and they honestly, I love it because we've got real
Listen, mate,
like Serpico's Beard who comes in.
Well done,
in the spirit of Christmas, 8.99. Thank you so much. And Chunks is at it again. He says it's the last donation. That has got to be it, Chunks. And I'm going to end up feeling like rotten. Do you know what I mean?
Can I put in my bank details into this as well? Because I am desperate for a new flat screen telly, Chunks. Honestly, mate, if you saw me Christmas watching, I've only got a wee 2-inch telly. I've seen it. And listen, see these guys that are posting these things, boys, they're not even worth publicising it. Do you know what?
Oh, I love it. Because what we're trying to do, though, is set the example. Because there's other people in the group that are in the live chat.
Ignore them, mate.
And you can't just ignore it, because if they think you're going to let them away with that, I think it's funny.
Now,
they're typing furiously. They've had to subscribe for 20 minutes, mate, to come in. Remember, to chat on this. So they've had to wait 20 minutes. And then, after subscribing, come in with nonsense. So, just remember, I'm ruthless with stuff like this. Bring it on, because the bus will keep driving. Anyway,
they've got the brains of a rocking horse, the two of them. I mean,
and Belly, don't start this. Thank you, Belly. She will kill me, Lol. That's it. That's fine. Thank you so much. Thank you to everyone. That's more than Mark's judge's wages paid. Although he is the most expensive judge in Europe.
Correct.
Now, when it comes to a few things you covered there, Mark, and it's quite wise. So I'm going to start with the Moy one and take it from there. Now, Aaron Moy has a case now to start on Monday. There, I've said it. I believe he does have a case, and I do agree. The only way it could happen is if the decision is O'Reilly to come out. Because for me, there has to be an argument, Mark, to play your best players in their best positions. Now, I agree with, but if Juranovic is checked out, don't play him. We've seen, and I love the examples. You're so right, Christy Eddy. We've seen this movie before, right? However, let's think about it here. It's not just Juranovic who can play right back. We've had the guy bedding himself in for the last 3 weeks after a World Cup that was pretty decent in a poor side. You know, in World Cup standards, I don't mean Canada are a poor side. I don't mean that ignorantly. So let's get real here. Alistair Johnston could come in as a right back if we've not got one there. And Hatate then goes back to his natural position. And Hatate, for me, is part of, remember I was talking about the wheel, the cogs in the machine. I mean, that's just one that Ange won't sacrifice. So play him in his best position. Remember we went to Ibrox, Matt, and we played Callum McGregor left back.
Oh, under Rodgers, aye.
Under Rodgers. And then Lennon bizarrely repeated the trick, having signed Volleyball and goalie. And you talk about raffle winners. I think Lennon realised the day he arrived, that was a raffle winner that cost £3 million because he never played him. I'm like, never heard of us having an actual left back at $3 million. 4 years ago for Celtic, that's stepping out, spending a lot. And we went with Calmac. It doesn't always work. Now, I do think Hatate that has done excellently at right back. But I said last night, it's not a popular opinion, but I think we need to treat Rangers at Ibrox as our toughest game of the season. Take Europe aside. But we need to treat this. Aye. But do you know what I mean? We need to treat it with that respect, should I say, Mark, that it deserves. Do you know what I mean? And the honest truth is, if we play our best players in each position, I think you'll find it'll be Juranovic or Johnston at right back. Hatate will be back in midfield. But the one thing we spoke about last night is who then do you deploy at left back? Because there is a debate there whether Bernabei it would be fair to put on there.
Well, Taylor's fit. Ange said that Taylor just took a wee small knock. It was just precaution to come out. I said, I must admit, see, all the talk last night, I mean, straight away, my worry was Taylor because I'm not going to get into the Bernabei debate. We all know that he won raffles, but not only that, Taylor just offers so much. I mean, you've seen his pass. I mean, it almost goes to the stage now where these kind of passes he's making, that won the penalty way, is you're just expecting him to come up with moments like that now. He's at that level now where he's took his game that far that he's making these passes and nobody's surprised anymore. And this is a left back who a year ago people were saying was not good enough for the Celtic B team. And that just shows you what Ange can do to a player. I agree, mate. I think Arthur Johnson's been at the club for 3.5 weeks now, and he's going to be ready. Ange did mention that he was asked about his right back position, and he said, "Listen, in a couple of days' time, I'm going to have four ready." Said it. So it's all right. It looks like I've only got one or two to now, and I'm playing on Rio at the right back. He says, but a couple of days. So that makes me think, in my mind, that he thinks Johnson's ready. My opinion, I don't think you throw no disrespect, I don't think you throw a rookie into Ibrox. I know World Cup is a high level.
What's the rookie? See, Alistair Johnston, this is the difference for me. I think Bernabei, a bit of a rookie to be putting in. Yeah. But for Johnston, for me, I think
it's slightly... played the World Cup, to be fair to him. I mean...
I think it's slightly different, Mark. I think...
It's just where he's came to, mate. I think he's came for a league that... Sorry to interrupt you, mate. I just think he's came for a league I think he's came for a league that's maybe similar to Bernabei. I think he's came for a league that's no used to this level of football. And I think, just something... See, because of the options we've got right back, he's one of the ones that were able to bed in a couple of games. Personally, I think if you don't play Juranovic, you push Ostorp to get Ralston in the game. I think Ralston's more than capable of playing.
I agree with that.
For me, the last thing he did is play Rio Hatate there, because do you know what? Not only is it he's only ever played 2 games at right back, he has played left back before, but Ryan Kent's a different proposition, and that big boy played last night in the left hand side. Is it Umi or Umar? So he was dynamite. That big boy, the Hibs player. And there was a couple of times where he did skin Hattati, and Ryan Kent's capable of doing that. Whether these end products any good or not, it's a different kettle of fish. But he's more than capable of going up against Rio Hattati. I think the physicality of it as well would maybe, no, I don't think Barisic running down that wing as well unless I'm wrong. So if his physicality, he's going to need a wee bit something a bit more stronger than Rio Hattati, something that used to maybe like an aerial challenge. You know what I mean?
I think again,
Hattati's
just too important, Mark, in the midfield for us. He's part, as I say, he's such a key part of everything we're trying to strive to do under Ange. And yes, I think he's just showcased his abilities in the last two games, that he's adapted to that position. But we're not going into this game having guys adapting, mate. We're going in with guy. I'll be honest, the Alistair Johnston thing, if you actually think back, and I was saying this last night, Juranovic came in and played out of position at Ibrox. I know we lost the game. Hear me out, though. Juranovic was actually very, very good that day. Remember when we lost 1-0? Ange's first derby. He played left back, and he'd been signed the day before, 2 days before. Johnson's had time to bed in, mate, and he does have experience. Again, what I was saying last night, I want your take on this. Me and you've been very, very vocal and rightfully critical at times of what we see as Celtic's transfer sort of model and how it doesn't quite stack up. And we were actually in the group chat talking about selling players. And I mean, you know, you see Mulder strikers joining Chelsea with 24 games under the belt professionally for €12 million. You know, you see, we're talking about a guy who's in a World Cup semi-final, a Croatian international. And it's time just to start talking it up, though, Matt, regardless of our personal opinion. And I think me and you always side with Ralston. I genuinely think in the 18 months Juranovic has been there, there's a compelling argument to say Ralston was more effective when he had his chances than what Juranovic was. But that's debate. That's okay to be other way. But the optics of what Juranovic's stats are, I had to get optics in to keep you happy, Judge. Right? But the actual, when you look at his resume of what he's done recently, why would we be underselling, undervaluing? And maybe you're right. Maybe there's a bid there on Juranovic that is fucking hot, right, for Celtic. And I'm talking, it won't be what we know you could really get if you pushed it, right? It won't be that, because Celtic they'll bite too early, right, in the old negotiations. However, that being said, it could be upwards of your 15 millions. They'll protect that. Right? They'll protect that if there's something like that, or if there's talks of that. And people talk, by the way, whether there's an official bidding or not, you know, the noises have been made, the approaches are made. Doesn't need to be a fax coming through in anymore in 2022 with an official offer. The talks, they will know, right? They will know where they stand with where this guy roughly is on the transfer sort of spectrum. And they'll be going, fuck, that's more than I thought. Okay, maybe that will need to be part. But the succession planning is, right, whilst we've got the J-League All-Stars now, we're about to be renamed next year, you know. If you ever went bust, Mark, at least we've got a new name there that's completely original. And we call ourselves the J-League All-Stars, because the J-League Player of the Season is about to join Celtic on January as well. Alistair Johnston at circa £3 million. He's about 3 million. Alistair Johnston, he's coming in for Canadian 20-odd caps. I mean, that being in advance is good.
I think, I don't know if you broke up there. I think like it's the only time I've ever, well, it's not the only time, but it's the only time I've ever seen a Celtic support be happy at the thought of losing a player they think is worth 25 million and replaced him for a guy for America whose fees undisclosed. You know what I mean? It's mental that how one sentence in an AGM by Ange can make everybody think it's a good idea to sell your best players, but I'll not go there. I think
But do you know what I think though, Mark? See, just very quickly, because you like this, we've sold our best players before without a fucking strategy.
Oh, I definitely.
And whether we like it or not, and I get what you're saying, there is still a cynical side you can take to it. But you know, it's a hell of a lot better than we've seen the last 5-6 years.
Aye, there's joined up thinking for once. This guy seems to have more than one window. I think Celtic should always be planning. It sounds a bit naive, but they should all be planning 1 or 2 windows in advance. I don't mean like they should know in January who they're signing the following January, but I think they should know. They should have plans. Every player should have a plan. Whether it's a matter really who we're expecting to lose within 18 months, there should be a plan for every player and a succession plan. Might not be particularly a certain player, but at least a list of targets or a list of a specific type of players. And just come in, and I don't think we've lost a player yet. I might be wrong with Footy's replacement already within the building. So I think Ange's first window was a bit bizarre because the guy came in and lost 16 players. He couldn't have helped that. But ever since then, he's been replacing players before they've left. I mean, he was quite active in January last year, but 4 players in, every one of them was a smash hit.
I thought it was the best window. Idiguchi apart, but the other 3, they were hugely marked. You're right. They were so effective.
Idiguchi out of them all was probably, I mean, that was I said at the time, I think he was the first one to go. But when you see that window, I'm sorry, that was a great window. I think O'Reilly, Maeda, Hatate really got us over the line last year.
Huge.
Yeah, aye, and just perfect timing. The summertime was the same. I thought even the acquisition of Joe Hart just put a wee bit of faith in me. One of his first signings that the defence was going to be a bit more tighter than what I thought it was going to be. The guy's just done excellent for Celtic in terms of. I think Celtic's signing policy just now is so good. It's a result of how bad it was, and by that I mean it was so bad before that he had to take control of a lot of aspects. And seeing you've got control of a lot of aspects, you're able to pinpoint and negotiate with the board and talk about the exact player you want better than anybody. You can explain to me all day long the type of player you want, Boise, but nobody's going to find that type of player better than what you can yourself. And I think that's what Ange does. And I think we've also got talks of 2 defenders coming in. We've signed a boy already.
Kobayashi.
And there's a talk of another defender. I've seen like another defender. Holy Awata's coming in. Cho Sung, I think his name is a striker. I'm forgetting their names. They're all 2.
No, you're fine. But it's quite amazing because the one thing as well with this is it's genuinely a market that ain't been approached before. And what you're finding is the J League success strike rate, as you were talking about there, that we've had. You take Idiguchi out and you go, fuck me. They've done all right. Even Maeda, we have the part is even a footballer, but his numbers, he's a good SPFL player, mate. Let's be real here. If you just look at his numbers and his goal last night, what I loved about that was his character. I said that Brendan Rodgers, his character. But see, when you've missed a sitter, it's easy to hide. It's easy to hide, Mark, when you've missed a sitter. He took responsibility.
He's got some brass neck on him. He doesn't care how many times he misses. He can still go up and just does the exact same thing again. I mean,
what a finish that was, though.
What a finish. We might talk about Giakoumakis. Giakoumakis, you can see when he misses a chance, it just, his ball just collapses. I don't think Maeda's got that. He just goes up and just goes back home again, and he'll miss the same chance 2 minutes later, as we've seen. His goal last night, I didn't think he had that in his locker. I'm not going to lie to you. The goals I've seen him score in Japan and Scotland, I didn't see last night's goal coming. I just thought that was a beautiful finish. In fact, if I just saw the goal, I would have said it came from Jota. That's how good it was, you know what I mean? And I thought the guy was brilliant last night. I certainly don't think he should be playing at Ibrox, but I thought he was great last night.
Let's do it, Mark, because you led me on nicely there. There was healthy debate last night, Mr. Kearney, Judge Kearney, I should say, about the Jota inclusion. And a lot of folk in the comments were disagreeing with me. And that's fair. I don't mind that. They said it's form-based, though, boys. If he's not in form, you've got to go with the guys in form. But I look at the records that I laid out last night at the start and who's played the keyest role in those. So I was saying 50 games, 1 SPFL defeat, right? 33 wins in 2022. That is the form we're on. 12 league wins in a row. Jota's played 10 times the role of that. If we're going to just be narrow-minded and look at 2 games, who's going to be able to carry the ball? If we're under pressure at Ibrox and we're getting, and we know that opening 20 minutes, Mark, they will be they'll be at it because they've got to. And Beale set himself up because he's talking way more than he can deliver at this stage. He's talked the talk because he needs to get the gullibles on side. That's his gift to do that. Of course it is. But now he's got no choice. 9 points behind, effectively 10. And this promise of this brand new attacking brand of football, which he's taken all the credit now for, apparently have done when he won 1 trophy out of 9 as an assistant manager. All this nonsense, though, is now comes to Judgment Day. And what all Celtic need to do is definitely have guys confident and able to take the ball. I'll give you an example, Mark, who never got credit in Glasgow Derby. It was an old firm back then. Nakamura. See when we were under the cosh? Nakamura folk used to go, oh, he hides in these games. No, he didn't. His ball retention was unbelievable. He took it a few yards, then he cut back. He never missed a pass. That's going to be fundamental. Maeda's a bit chaotic. Let's be honest. And we can't deny that. And a lot of attributes of that are good. But I think you need someone like Jota with the composure, the class on the ball. We're going to need that if we're under the caution the opening 20 minutes. Who's got that ability?
I say this with all respect that I'm trying to give the guy, but he's like away and kicking a balloon at a wedding. That's how I described him before, and I stick by that. Jota's got the natural ability of nobody I've seen in this league for a very long time. He's got end product. He can do his flicks and tricks, but almost 9 out of 10 he's got end product here. And I think the guy's got to start at Ibrox. I mean, I think he scored 2 goals in the derby matches. He's vital to Celtic. I think if you look at the team sheet on Monday, days all over the place, and you see Maeda up front with Kyogo and Abada, he's got to bring your horns. I don't care what anybody says. You've got to play Jota that match. Don't play Maeda. Maeda's on the bench. You can't just one good performance and one beautiful goal. It can't sway the decision of the manager. I don't think the manager's that naive that you go to that. The hardest place in this league to go to is Ibrox. For Celtic, we can't go to Parkhead and play ourselves, so the hardest place to go to is Ibrox, right? And there's no doubt in my mind that you go to have the 11 best players in the park. And you talk about ball retention. I think the ball is just it just bounces after Maeda. You need somebody that can carry the ball, can break up the play a wee bit, can hold the ball up.
The composure, Mark.
Cut inside, smack it 30 yards, and Jota can cut in and can hit a dig for 20 yards. And see 9 times out of 10, if he's not scoring, it's good for the corner. There's some sort of action comes for his attacking play, and we might go into it. But I also think, and it will be unpopular because he scored the game last night, although he did absolutely nothing else. I think you've got to start Giakoumakis on Monday, but I think I'm probably going to be in a very small minority.
That's not going to happen. That's not going to
happen.
Not
going to happen, mate. I think when you see the video of Giakoumakis last night after the match, I only saw the clip this morning. It looked like a guy who knows he's played his last game for Celtic, and I'm gutted with it. I think there was a Celtic player in there, like a real icon in there, and something's happened. I think negotiations have broke down, and it's just not went back again. I've got fears. I must admit, I've got fears.
What's led to that, Mark? What's led to that as well? What's led to that? Let's go into that a wee bit because
my opinion on that, I think it's funny how in the last 18 months we've had a guy in the periphery pulling some strings, but not being involved in the day-to-day running, and things have went smoothly. He's been announced back at the club. He said he's fingering Celtic pie for a couple of months again now, and we've got one of our top players, our best striker. Let's be quite honest, let's be quite frank about that. And he's leaving because of money. And the reason, the common denominator there for any Celtic fan that's paid attention for the last 17 years is Peter Lawwell. That's I don't care what anybody says. He's a chairman. Let me get this one point quickly before we go back on it. Anybody that thinks Peter Lawwell's announcement or appointment is a kind of so what figure, why would you risk upsetting the full fan base to bring in somebody who's inconsequential? That is a major. Major decision, right? And if you were risking upsetting the Green Brigade, having banners back at the stadium, having protests, why would you bring in somebody for a job that's inconsequential that divides the support so much? You bring in the guy who runs Toys R Us or something. You wouldn't bring in a guy who's so divisive like that. See if it was that divisive, boys. See if it was that much of a shitty job. They could have hired a chairman, and the guy probably wouldn't have made the press.
So
But they
simple.
decided to do it. And the reason why they decided to do it is because they know Peter Lawwell was going to have his finger on the pulse with all things Celtic. And will he chap Michael Nicholson's door on a daily basis and ask him what's going on? Yes. Will he tell Ange that, listen, he's the one that's got to be delivering the message to the board. So what happens is the CEO talks to the chairman and the chairman delivers a message to the board. See, delivery is key on everything. When you're delivering that message to the board of directors who are there to answer to shareholders, the delivery is key. If you start off the conversation, I'll get a Greek striker who's second choice, he's wanting £3 grand a week. That's 150 grand a year. Yeah, 2 years, 300 grand. I don't think so. We can sell them more and flip them for 5 million. See how easy that was? You know what I mean? I don't think for a minute there's anybody in that board that's sentimental towards Celtic. They see Celtic as pounds and pennies and balance sheets. They wouldn't even care if Celtic won tomorrow or lost tomorrow as long as the money
The league
kept
table is
rolling.
a completely different league table they look at, Towers.
I think if Celtic and Rangers, if it was a £5 million for the
I
first,
totally agree with that.
I think if Celtic and Rangers got the exact same money for finishing first and second, they qualify for the Champions League, they get first and second basically was just the exact same money. I think Celtic's financial gain at the start of the season would just be a secure second spot and just see where else we go. That would be Celtic's financial aim.
This is the T.N.F, so we're going to go to the comments. And the straight away
well, that's what I'm scared of. That's what I'm scared of, boys.
Oh, aye. But, I mean, if Ange will not stand for any interference there because there's two sides to this. Undeniably, the value of the signing of Giakoumakis with his goal-to-games ratio, his minutes-to-goals ratio.
That's outstanding.
The low transfer fee that he cost, you look at all of that and you go, and obviously, by the way, anyone who's in denial, there was a fucking promise made to him that after a year, you'll get improved terms if you achieve certain KPIs. He's achieved them, right? And he's only wanted to score in the Champions League this year as well. So there's all fucking there in black and white for you, right? He is definitely warranted the debate. Ange does not dictate what level of pay a player will get.
No.
That will be someone else. Now, if anyone thinks that will be anyone else with the loudest voice, I'm not saying the most important voice because of the new rule, but the loudest voice is Mr. Lawwell. If Ange might not say it's interference, again, what the message to Ange might be, who doesn't want to get involved in that bullshit because he's so focused on the team, might be Giakoumakis is playing up. He's looking for a fucking silly wage, by the way. All right, no worries. He can go. I've got 3 other targets.
So easy that was.
I think Ange is doing it in spite at times. Or over the next 12 months, you might find out a lot of the stuff that's getting done by Ange is in spite of it because he's 2 steps ahead. Will he grow tired and fed up of that, though, and eventually not stand for it anymore and go, how come, though, it's every time a player wants more rewarded for what they're achieving for this football club, they don't get it? I think that's fair.
It's amazing. Have you watched the Martin O'Neill years, and then you go, Lawwell took charge Celtic right after they went to Seville. You watch a steady and rapid decline in the Celtic squad for that moment. You know what I mean? For 2003, we won the next 2 titles under Martin O'Neill, who just had a monopoly on Scottish football. The guy was an outstanding manager. But the investment on that, well done. The investment in that squad totally finished. That was it. Celtic were finished when it came to investment. There was
agreed.
No second stage to that. Gordon Strachan as well. He brought a couple of players in, and it just stagnated. Rogers brought a couple of players in, ended up getting players bought from him and left. Now,
it's funny when you look at that. Let's go very quickly, just so folk have a visual of that. We started with Suttons, Hartsons, Lennons in our first 12 months under O'Neill. I finished with David Fernandez's and Henri Camaro's on loan, right? You look at Strachan's era. We started with the likes of Donati, Hesselink, right? We finished then with fucking Dion Dublin, and you know, in fact, no, he was maybe earlier. Who else did we finish with? I was trying to think.
Willow Flood.
Willow Flood.
Steve
That was the name.
McManus, Gary
It
Caldwell.
was Willow
Paul
Flood.
Hartley. I see these players about just quickly.
Paul Hartley. I loved Hartley.
Hartley, no, but the point I was going to make leads into this, right? This is what I keep on saying. Celtic's success at times has been not because of Lawwell, it's been in spite of Lawwell. Now, Ange's biggest outlay, if memory serves me right, has been the two boys who have had on loan, Jota and Carter Vickers. Now, anybody that sat in a boardroom and you could sit there and say, listen, these guys are £6 million. If one of their legs falls off tomorrow, we're still getting our money back, right? That's a fact. I mean, Celtic sell you two tomorrow, you're doubling your money on each one of them, right? You maybe get 10, 12, 13 for Carter Vickers because it's not fashionable to have a centre back that plays his way. Jota, you get 15, 20 million. So that's an easy decision to make. But see, the rest of them have been through. Celtic going to a market that's unappreciated like Japan. Kyogo was like £4 million. But see, the rest of them was £1 million, £2 million. A loan for 6 months, and we'll pay up with ginger bottles next year. It was all like, you know, that is Peter Lawwell. Now, see, you buy a player for 500 grand. If you buy a Moussa Dembele for 50 grand, and it turns into a £23 million player that goes to Lyon. That is great business. But you don't need to work hard to persuade Peter Lawwell to sign him. He is signed the minute you say he's 50 grand. So see when you see actually listen, I'm going to flip this. Right? I'm going to use your phrase. I'm going to flip this. So Ange's chapped the manager chapped a door and says, I've got 4 targets this January. Aye, who are they? Well, 4 of them are for Japan, the J League, one's for the MLS. CON, I'll maybe spend £8 million, and you probably if you sell them in the morning you get 25. Done. Where do I sign, right? Not only that, you've got a small risk factor because if you buy Celtic's model for the last 20 years, if you buy £1-2 million players, Celtic's balance sheet can account for them being duds. Celtic can afford 3 or 4 £2 million duds a season. They can afford that. They can't afford 2 or 3, 4, £5 million duds every couple of seasons, but they can afford a £2 million dud that lasts a year and then gets put out on loan and we end up getting shot at them. We saw them, we could run through them for the last 20 years. So that is the hallmarks of Peter Lawwell right there. Let's not start putting Nico Nicholson banners up on the Jocks team stand and ripping down the posters of Billy McNeil and replacing it with this guy's face, right? Because he's offered Ange nothing that he shouldn't be getting in 2022. You talk about a guy whose net spend is less than £10 million, and he's walking this like it's because it's Ange's ability to find players that fit into his jigsaw. The Celtic are so far advanced. It's not because Celtic are winning like that, right? Ange, what you need, right? That's 40 million. That's not what's happened here. Celtic have just got so far because we have signed players that are just identical for this guy's vision. And we've also got a manager who knows exactly what he wants. And we're playing a country that 9 times out of 10 just can't compete with it. That is why we're so far in front. And that includes Rangers.
There's only so many times as well, Matt, you can win a watch. Right?
No,
now,
exactly.
Ange's the watch
that will happen.
Ange's the manager that when you know Celtic win a watch. But what I would also say is with the players he's going to and the valuation of them and the leagues they've played in, fucking hell. I mean, he struck gold time and time again, right? Let's get that right.
Easy to sell that to the board, isn't it?
Aye, of course it is. But any manager worth the salt eventually changes to going, but now I want to shop there. I can't keep going to the well. However, that being said, I'm going to be a hypocrite because we've just signed the J-League's Player of the Year. He's not been announced yet, but apparently it's 100% done. 2 different Japanese outlets or media reporters or whatever. I think our pal Dan was one of them. So, in fact, not that back to one. Has said that's 100% done. The J-League Player of the Year for £1 million. And you're going, if you can keep finding, jewels like that for that fee, that's okay. but it's going to be difficult to keep progressing the football club.
It's going to be impossible to do that, boys.
Consistently. Of course it is, Mark. But you know what? There's another debate to be had, because when Ange spent money, Mark, on certain players, there's one that's came in for a lot of unfair criticism. And so, by the way, sometimes fair criticism, in fact, I should rephrase that. Unfair criticism for criticism's sake at times, and then I thought maybe it spells, particularly the first half of last season, fair criticism, but it came back like a man possessed. Even though he's too pretty to be this centre-half, Carl Starfelt was a 4.5 million Swedish international. The profile, when you hear those sort of labels, tags, I think that's a Celtic. That's the sort of player I want Celtic going for. Of course you do. I think he's came back, mate, and he fills a role Jens couldn't. Jens was so much more comfortable in the ball, easier in the eye. But the one thing about Carl Starfelt that I think we were maybe missing, now we've got him in the team, not going to say identified at the time, is he fucking loves defending.
And do you know something? One of my biggest fears about Celtic is aerially. And I think he controls the defence a lot better than Jens ever will. He comes to balls into the box. We were losing a lot of goals when he was out of the team, the balls into the box. I don't know. Do you remember we were doing a lot of zonal marking under Lennon, and you see a lot of. See, one thing you should worry about as a football fan, no matter who you support, is see when you see a team lose a goal, and you see a replay, and you turn around and you see players pointing to each other. That's no blame shifting. That's folk know exactly whose job was who. That's a worrying thing. That's a very worrying thing, because I don't mind somebody making a mistake. As such, what's concerning is a player scoring against us, and the defence knowing exactly who was to pick up who. Yep. And I was seeing that with Jens. A lot of times he was losing a goal and he's kind of turned running, and I thought he doesn't know his job. Carl Starfelt, I think, aerially, he commands the box really well. I think Carter Vickers wins a lot, he does as well, but Starfelt's game is controlling that box with balls in the air. We know Joe Hart won't come out and catch a lot of balls, but I also think I like Ange Postecoglou. I think he doesn't focus a lot on defence, but I think he does have the best players in the best positions at a lot of times. And I think,
see, when you look at it as well, though, Mark, very quickly on that, because I think this is really intriguing about Ange. I look at Starfelt and I go, one of his biggest his third biggest investment, his fourth. Him and Keel go about the same, and then, as you said earlier, the two loan signings that were 6 million plus. You look at Starfelt, and I'm like, an investment in a player who's not that comfortable, in my opinion, with the ball at his feet. That tells you Ange has another side to him. He's the giveaway. He's the clue to a guy who is willing to do more than this bizarre portrayal.
You've got to be dogged.
So many fans have in their mind that, he only knows one thing. I've told you before, I think it's insulting to him. I actually think it's an insult when people think he can only sign one type of player. He doesn't sign people like that. I think Carl Starfelt, he is the epitome of the opposite of what a typical Ange signing is. And by the way, you need that mix in the team. I thought Starfelt last night, that was when the penny dropped for me, because I had the debate on Jens might struggle to get back. Jens might struggle to get back because at this moment in time, if Starfelt's already ahead, really I would have thought the other defender that was signed was meant to be, taking Starfelt's place, and he had a free run at it. Let's be honest, because of Starfelt's injury. So if Starfelt's straight back in, he's toiling now. But actually, Starfelt's return is totally justified based, not just on one display. We've had that debate. But last night, I just looked at it and went, he fucking wants to defend. And I think in the midst of all this technical brilliance Celtic have, I think we need guys who just want to stick the head in the ball. That just go, put me in the trenches. I'll defend for you all day long. It actually suits my game. I think you need that balance, Mark. And Starfelt, he does deserve praise when praise is deserved. It's one of those things.
We're Celtic fans. We want every player to be the best they can be. So when they're playing well, we will praise them. I think his game, isn't he? I mean, I call him cement feet for a reason, mate. He's got cement in his shoes. He kicks the ball, the ground just shakes when about him. But when it comes to defending, I mean, the ball into the box, he's really comfortable with. On the turn, when he's got a ball on his shoulder, I think him and Chris Julian had the exact same problem. They panic with certain balls over their shoulder. They're either going to give a free kick or make a blunder. But defensively, in terms of a player running towards him and things like that, he's pretty sound, and I think he'll be very important because I think as a Barisic, I think every time he crosses a ball, it's normally a good one. So we're going to have to be really, really good on Monday, and I think he's up to that challenge. I think Carter Vickers is too.
Yes,
We're not very
he's the best of both, the way, because he can.
He's brilliant.
Bryn Murray's saying, Mark, the problem starts when he's asked to pass it out defence. I want your take on this, Mark, because I've got a theory on this. The teams are deliberately, though, because of the perceived lack of ability that Starfelt has with the ball at his feet, and I probably subscribe to it a bit myself, but they all stand off him now. He's the one doing more forward runs with the ball at his feet, particularly at Celtic Park, than what CCV is, because CCV is a threat with the ball at his feet because he can play, right? But don't always. You careful. What was it, Brendan Rodgers? Be careful what you wish for, because if you give someone like Carl Starfelt, Swedish international, that might become a catchphrase, Martin, 2023. Give him too much time with the ball at his feet, and eventually he'll start punishing teams once his confidence grows. But there's also an important thing here. Jens was brought in, and I thought looked as comfortable as CCV, maybe a wee bit behind, but not far behind, with the ball at his feet. Do you need to have two ball-playing centre-backs, or do you sometimes need that mix, that balance, where you've got one, right, you go attack it, you defend for your life, and then give me the ball?
I think you need that, and it's just spot on there. And one thing I will say about the Starfelt bombing forward, we've seen it with Yaya, we saw it with Boyata, and we even saw it with Effie Ambrose at times. Opposition managers, they allow certain centre-backs at Celtic in particular to have a lot of the ball, because quite often their end product's pretty poor. It'll normally be a square pass or a pass that they could have done 4 or 5 touches ago. And it all depends on that team's press. So, for instance, like an Aberdeen, they normally tend to leave one up front against us. See if their guy had the discipline that he presses a Starfelt or presses an Ayer. He's took out the game straight away with one pass. So it depends on the opposition's press. What you find is in Sunday, Monday, keep saying fucking Sunday. See, what you find is with Rangers press on Monday is they'll go wide with their press. That's one thing that Gerrard's Rangers did, and I think Beale with it. So you will find Starfelt will get a lot of time on the ball. Maybe you see Carter Vickers, because they'll sit on a two fall backs and wait for Joe Hart to pass the man and wait for a mistake and wait for the ball to go out the park for a shy. That will be their press, mark my words. So all that depends on opposition. You know what I mean? I think in Europe you don't see a lot of that because not only that a team's better, but they're more tactically disciplined, and they'll only allow a centre back at Celtic's level to go a certain distance up the park before they close them down and force them into a panic pass. In Scotland, we don't force them into a panic pass. We just expect them to make an easy or bad pass. And see, 9 times out of 10, Chris Ayer was the best example of it. He'd run 60 yards and pass the ball backwards, almost like negative 15 degrees. You know what I mean? He would hit the ball backwards, and I think Starfelt does that as well. Whereas Carter Vickers, he tends to go and look for Callum McGregor quite a lot. Look for Riho Tati, you know what I mean? So I did get a point. I do think you go with a mixture. Starfelt is absolutely the guy who is the just win the ball and put it in the park guy. I think every cut needs that. And Carter Vickers is a mere solid unit that can put in a brilliant tackle, but is able to find a better 15, 20 yard pass out of the two centre backs. I think you need that. You need a mixture of both. Otherwise, you're just going to have too much of a likeness.
The yin and yang, Mr. Kearney. That's what it is, and sometimes you need that. I totally agree with you. When it comes to the game looking ahead now, and we're a wee bit early to be overly focusing on it, but before we go, I know there'll be a lot of folks that, because it completely dominates your mindset when this fixture's come ahead, and I know we say it's not the same, it's not Old Firm, and they celebrate it being Old Firm, which is also bizarre. That's fine. But how confident are you sitting there right now? When you look at the record Celtic's on right now, invincible season form, 12 league wins in the spin, first time since Brendan Rodgers' first season. One defeat in our last 50. One defeat in our last 50. I'm breaking up again. I'm going to go
I don't know
mad.
why you paused. I thought you'd pause for dramatic effect, mate. I
No!
wasn't sure I was
No, it's me freezing, mate. But how confident are you going into the game?
Listen, mate, I think this Celtic team, probably like Rodgers' Celtic team, I think they were always in control with their own game plan. You know what I mean? They know exactly what their job is every one of them. They know what to do. And I think Celtic getting this game as strong favourites. I genuinely do think Celtic, even though they're away from home, I think the bookies will make us favourites. Ibrox is a hard place to go to. We're going to be playing against John Beaton. We're going to be playing against a VAR setup that is very subjective. And if you give this mob an inch, they'll take a mile. So we've also got to worry about the VAR and referee. But I put it as bluntly as this: if Celtic turn up, Celtic win. I think if Rangers show up on their best day and Celtic show up on their best day, Celtic win the match. There's too many variables for me for to call margins. I mean, you talk to a Celtic fan during Neil Lennon's tenure and they would still predict a 5-0 victory at Ibrox. I don't think it's like that anymore. I think that the gap isn't as big as people want to believe because Rangers they've already sacked a manager. That creates a lot of tension within the squad when a manager's going to be sacked. So it's probably no a bit synthetic, but I think the Celtic are favourites. They've got the best players. We've got a manager who knows the system. They're not scared of Ibrox. My worry is the same worry that probably Celtic have had since May 1887 is the referees. And now they've got a computer system that will justify their bad decisions. That's my only concern. I mean, you get John Beaton. It's the only country in the world where a referee can
It's utterly bizarre.
Referee a derby match, then go to the Crown Bar an hour later with Stone Island Jake on. And if you say something, you're paranoid. I don't think we're paranoid enough. I think me like that linesman, that wee baldy guy at the St Johnstone game. He's been at Celtic Park a few times this season, and he was at St Johnstone away and all. I'm pretty sure, and the guy is a fucking torture. I mean, if you want to draw a Rangers fan, you would just draw that guy's face. He's a terrible. I mean, he gave an offside against Hatate. I think it was the other day there, and Hatate was closer to the moon than what he was to being offside. And that linesman just, I mean, even last night, Andrew Dallas, he was panicking.
Brilliant turn of phrase. That's just brilliant, Mark. I don't know where you do this from sometimes, mate. He was closer to the moon than being offside.
It was. I mean,
me, that's good.
I think actually, unless I'm wrong, I think there was 4 players playing the guy on side. I mean, there was 4 players. It wasn't even close, but even I mean, my eyesight's terrible, boys. Honestly, you know me.
I know that.
And I can see.
I want to know what you can see with this.
Go for it, mate.
Because I see, this is the last point that we're going to make tonight, right? I know it's not been much of a forum, but fuck it. When is it? The psychology of the two managers. I feel he has set his stall out over staunch. I think he had to. He's went too far. I do believe there's a lot of belief in his own hype at the other end. And then I see Ange's reactions the past few games, who looks like he's just that wee bit more animated, Mark, than he normally is. He's gritting his teeth when he's celebrating, and he's almost egging the fans on. I think there is a bit of him pissed off, and I think he's poking the wrong, don't want to call Ange a bear, but you know what I mean. I think Mickey Beale right now has set himself up for a fall. Bob keeps saying he's quietly confident, but he's got nothing to back it up on other than he's been impressed by Mickey Beale, which means fuck all.
No.
Ange for me right now, Mark, looks like a man, I'm not going to say a man possessed, but a man pissed off.
Well, he mentioned last night, post-match, that he's got the fittest team in the league. I don't think that was an accident. I think he meant to say that because it's a war of words sometimes before these matches. Now, listen, we've got Ange Postecoglou. I think he's a man from down under. They've got the mould for the South Pole, mate. I don't care what any cunt says. This boy's been brought in after 20 matches. Listen, I've already said in this show that I back the guy. I think he's going to be a good manager. But listen, he sat on a Wednesday or Thursday night and spoke to a QPR fan media or a fan press group and said, listen, I'm here for a long time. I'm not one of these guys that walks away. The next morning, he changes his Twitter profile and fucks off to Rangers. So he had to come in, bring in his brown brogues, bring in his dark blue suits to training. He's one day away from putting we other people above his Twitter page. He's actually trying too hard. If you're asking me, listen.
Yes,
you can
so right.
You can fly the fucking butcher's aprons all you want. See, Ange Postecoglou, he'll not. If Celtic lose the game on Monday, it'll not be because of any wars or words or anything that Michael Beale's fought with in some sort of nightmare he's had, and he's found some sort of inspiration with it. Ange Postecoglou knows what he's doing. His game plan won't shift no matter what the score is. He is absolutely focused on the job ahead. He'll have his team's probably picked anew. He'll have his setup picked anew. When he's going to press, when he's going to attack, when he's going to defend, and what situations should arise. Beale, I think, has already started to say things that kind of contradict each other. At one point, he was saying he still believes that Rangers are the best team in the league. There's the only
3-point gap.
3 points back, but then he's saying at the same time that his team has still got a long way to go. You know, he's also said a couple of things about how when he's in the building, conversations have changed in the dressing room. It's more lively. Let's have a bit of respect for the guy who took Rangers to a European final and was a one penalty kick and a bad miss away from winning a European trophy. The guy over the statue at Ibrox just now. So let's not pretend that Michael Beale was a level above this guy. This is a guy who's won leagues in Holland. You know what I mean? This guy, it didn't work out for the Rangers, but he's still playing with the same. He's still playing with the same Sabuto players. He can only do so much of what he's got. If he asked Van Bronckhorst, he'd say, look, Celtic got better players. Beale's got the same guys. He's also got a Morelos that looks like he's a fat bastard. I mean, he just looks like a big ball with a Rangers strip on. He's not fit enough to be playing for Rangers, you know what I mean? He's got the same problems. He's still got Ken trying to either win a contract or win a move. He's still got Roof trying to get back to fitness. He's still got issues with his defence. It's still the same problems that is what Van Bronckhorst is. So he's not going to win any talking matches with Ange. Ange knows he's best 11. Ange knows what he's got for his keeper to his second choice right back. He knows exactly what he's got in that squad. And not only that, by the time the match starts in Monday, you could probably have 3 or 4 additions to the squad that are able to just step in like that. So I've got no doubt in my mind that Celtic fans should be confident going into Ibrox. My reservations with how I treat these games is I always think, no matter how I'll tell you something, I've seen a lot better Celtic teams get beat off of worse Rangers teams. I can assure you, I've seen Martin Neal's teams getting beat off of Bob Malcolm. So let's just put that to bed. You know what I mean? This team on the unsurmountable. Celtic can lose, but I think Celtic are just in the right place to take on Rangers, and I think it would probably take a wee bit of the things that I'm scared of, a VAR, a John Beaton, just doing his usual, allowing bad challenges, allowing bad tackles, slowing the game down, calling back players to give them pointless 2-minute conversations when Celtic are on the ascendancy. Things like that.
I think we'll overcome them all.
Yeah.
I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. I think the one thing we've got is we're so relaxed. They have to win. Or it's over. Even you call it. Do you know what I mean? Maybe not. But you know what I mean, though? It's going to be that far. It's going to be 12 points. And he's made this bizarre promise of this brand of football. He's got to showcase it. He's got to put his money where his mouth is. That plays into our hands. Their best chance is sitting in, digging in, doing the opening 10 minutes where they crunch about 15 players and get away with it because you don't send folk off in the first 10 minutes. But I just think...
Joe, they need what I say. Joe, they need... Joe, this is the thing. This is what I always think differentiates Celtic and Rangers, right? They'll get into a match and they'll be sitting in a podcast just, sitting in a pub talking to their pals, and they'll be saying to themselves, we need a Terry Hurlock. We need a Bomber Brown. Whereas we'll be saying, I wish we had a Jimmy Johnston. I wish we had a Paddy Roberts on form. That is the difference, mate. That is the difference. They're stuck. They're stuck in 1690, but they're also stuck in 1970. They're stuck in... And you watch it analysing the Rangers game. See if Rangers lose against Celtic. See come Monday morning and you hear McCoy, Mark Haley coming out with these 2 bottles of soap, all these characters. One of the first things they mention is, I mean, there was no dig, there was no yellow cards. I mean, that goal Celtic scored. Why was he
Nobody
not
gets
there?
it. Nobody gets it.
They don't get it. And then see if Celtic lose a game, it's always like, we always analyse the technical side of it. We always go, right,
Great
I mean,
comparison.
why is he not closer to that? As I always say, at Ibrox, they cheer a broken leg higher than they cheer a 20-yard goal. And that's one thing. They would rather a Terry Hurlock than a Jimmy Johnston. And that is a fact. And there's only so far a Terry Hurlock can get you, mate.
Yep. And I think we'll leave it on that note, Matt. Will you go in with confidence tomorrow? We're going to be talking about scalpers on Bustalgia.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm looking forward to that. I'll be joining Phil McGinley. Anyone else, obviously, in the bus contributors are welcome to join as well. We will be talking about our favourite scalpers over the years. You know what type of scalpers we're referring to. Mm-hmm. And we will be we are going to go through the archives and talk about all of that tomorrow with Phil McGinley. Mark, the judge, thank you so much for your company. 170 is watching live. Thank you all so much on a Thursday night. Enjoy the rest of your night. Hopefully you're off work. Get a beer. Enjoy yourself. This is how it feels to be Celtic champions again, as you know.
Comments about me deliberately trying to cause controversy. Well, I work in the media now, and you've got someone sitting there next to you who's an embarrassment to the media profession. He's an apologist. He's a charlatan.